How's it going, you guys? Yeah, I haven't made a video in quite a while. I would think though, judging by the title of this video, it's pretty self-explanatory as to why I maybe haven't been skating. So yep, tore my meniscus again. It's a bit of a bummer. I'm not like totally crippled. I can still roll around and mess around on my board, but in terms of like filming any what I consider video-worthy skating for myself, yeah, there's not really gonna be any of that for a while. So yeah, I did this once about 7 years ago. I had the surgery done, it got better, and as you guys saw, you know, I had like 4 years of documented skating, of like good quality skating. So I'm not talking about like the level of ability, but I mean like time out on my board that was really awesome. So that was 4 years documented, but I was skating pretty hard for about a year before I started the channel. So in 5 years, I had only one minor injury before this. I twisted my knee once. That took a couple months to heal. That's also in the series of videos if you've been around for that long. But yeah, that one healed and it was fine, like 100% fine after about 6 months. After 2 months I was skating, after 6 months it was 100% fine. And yeah, it's been nothing but, you know, minor nagging injuries up until right before I twisted my knee. I was also getting really bad jumper's knee in my left knee. So I tore the meniscus in my right knee. And to give you guys a really quick description of what tearing your meniscus is like, while the tears can vary, they're pretty common. The symptoms are pretty common. So the meniscus is like a horseshoe-shaped piece of cartilage. You have one on each side here, and mine's on the inside, which is the most common one, and I think it's close to the front. It's a horseshoe-shaped piece of cartilage, like a little piece of rubber that's between your thigh bone and your shin bone. So it's basically your bushing for your knee. And what happens is sometimes you can tear that and you can get a little loose flap. So I got this, you know, like horseshoe-shaped piece of cartilage with a teeny little flap, and then that little flap gets in between that joint, you know, which is your knee. And because you have that little flap in there, it stops it from being able to close properly. So I can't get a full extension of my knee without pain, which means I can't really skate. And it also doesn't feel stable. So I can't pop off my right leg. I don't want to land on my right leg. And this is my pushing and popping foot. So I'm pretty limited in terms of what I can do. I can do a little bit of, you know, nollie tricks, a few basic stuff. So I can still have fun. I can still go to the skate park with my son, mess around for half an hour, and then watch him skate for the rest of the time. But in terms of me skating, yeah, there's not going to be a lot of that for a while. Oh, sorry, I was just chatting with somebody real quick. So yeah, I can mess around, but my knee feels pretty unstable these days, you guys. And the other thing that could happen is if I land on it wrong, or I kick down too hard or flick it weird, it will lock up again. And so right now it's got a relatively broad range of movement, and I don't want to step off my board wrong and mess it up. Like, to tell you guys how I did this, so when I first did it, I landed with almost all my weight on this leg. So like in a full squat, just complete compression with all of my body weight on this leg. And I just felt this tiny little pop back here. So of course, I let that feel a little better. It took about a week before I felt like I could skate again. And I just kind of ignored it. But every once in a while, like it even happened just pumping on a transition. So I do like an axle stall and pump hard down the transition. And like my knee would just crunch. And since I've had a meniscus injury before, I was like, oh no, I don't like the look or feel of this. It's not super painful, by the way. It's gross feeling, but it's not super painful. Anyways, though, I knew I probably had a meniscus injury, but being the stubborn person I am, I kept pushing it. And I would either land a trick hard on my right leg, or I would pump weird and it would kind of lock and I'd like reef it back into place. And then finally, it happened twice earlier in a session. And then, you know, we're getting ready to go home and I'm like wanting to keep doing stuff because of course skateboarding feels rad. So why wouldn't I want to keep doing more? But I go to do a switch frontside flip at UBC on this, you know, like kicker that I always skate. Switch frontside flip, pop, catch, land, bolts. Like I would have been pretty happy with it, except my knee went crunch and locked. And ever since then, it hasn't been quite right. So in retrospect, in hindsight, what I would have done is I would have gone, hey, I have a meniscus injury. I probably shouldn't skate much for like 3 to 6 months, and I should probably get it checked out. But because I was able to skate and it wasn't causing me much pain, I ignored it and made it much worse. So here we are. Anyways, you guys, the other topic of this video, finding my perfect setup. So the irony here is I already knew what my perfect setup was. I wrote it a few years ago, and because of the nature of the channel, I kept trying different stuff. But there was just always this feeling I had where I was like, I want to get back to this setup again. So what is it? Well, it is the Mason shape. So it used to be an anti-hero shape, and it's the 8.28 reel. So it's 8.28 wide, which is just 8.25. And it is 31 5/8 long, so it's kind of short. They call it 31.6, I think, but it's pretty short. It's got a 14.125 wheelbase. The trucks I have been riding are the independent hollows with a standard base plate. So they're not a little bit lower or lighter in the base plate, but they still have a hollow kingpin, hollow axle. And to be totally honest, I kind of liked this setup with the standards a little bit better, but these are close enough to them that it really didn't bug me that much. And 52mm classics, the bearings in here are quantum. Also, for the last week or two before I hurt my knee, I started getting the madness about bushings because I'd already figured out my deck, my wheels, my trucks, and I found the Indy stock bushings to be a little bit too loose for me. And so I started freaking out trying this, that, and everything, and then I finally tried the medium hards, even though I didn't want to have blue bushings in my trucks. Like I want my bushings to look the exact same as they always have. I want like regular Indy bushings, orange, for the rest of my life. But once I tried these, I was like, actually, these are really good. So they made my board feel a little less twitchy, a little more solid, and I didn't have to have the nut cranked down so tight, so there wasn't so many threads showing. So like I literally had my setup perfect. And it was the day that I dialed it in and like finally tried these bushings, and I was like, yeah, no, this is it, I'm done. That was when I did my knee in. So there's a bit of weird, not irony, but like a conclusion. Like we found it, this is the setup, and now you're done. Anyways, here's a little bit of skating that I was doing on that setup. This was filmed just before I hurt myself, and this is the last, relatively pain-free footage I have of myself. Everything after this is injury footage. Okay, so yeah, that was my son follow filming. Yeah, he did a pretty good job. And it was nothing crazy, but it was just me messing around, having fun on a finely tuned setup. However, the funny thing is, now that I have an injury and my knee feels less stable, this is no longer my ideal setup because it feels a little bit narrow and the trucks are a little bit squirrely, right? Now that I feel less stable, I want something more stable to compensate. So what I've actually been riding and just messing around on now is 8.5. It's one of the Canada Skate Shop things, which actually is another topic we have to get into in a bit. But this is one of the Canada Skate Shop Steep and Sturdies, 8.5. So it's a little bit on the long and hefty side for me. Wheelbase is 14.5. We got Indy Standards, 149. So I have a very stable truck, a heavy feeling board, a wide wheelbase, and this thing feels awesome. My only complaint is that the pop feel is a little bit heavy right now. But being able to skate in such a limited capacity, it feels great to have something so big and sturdy. Wheels are 53 millimeter classic Formula 4, and then I have some more Quantums in here, I think Quantum Atoms. So yeah, this is really good. And when this board wears out, which it will, because I can still skate curbs and do some basic flat ground. When this board wears out, I'm gonna try something a little different. Maybe still 8.5, but a little more compact. But yeah, this is feeling good these days. Getting to the Canada Skate Shop thing. So I didn't really feel like making a whole video specific to it. So anybody that was invested in Canada Skate Shop is probably still watching the video at this point. I decided to end my partnership. So it was a 50-50 partnership between me and Eric. And after a year and a half of working really hard on it, I just felt like I wasn't able to achieve what my ideal was. And my ideal was always to try and make custom shapes with fun graphics. And just the supply chain got so messed up in the last year and a half, it was impossible. Like you couldn't get custom shapes. Finding graphics wouldn't have even been the hardest part, but I just got burnt out on trying. And so after a year and a half, we still weren't making progress in being able to get boards exactly how I wanted them to be, with the graphics how I wanted. Like every aspect of this, like everything we tried to do, we would get blocked. And it was so difficult and so challenging that I now have a newfound respect for anybody in the skate industry. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of step away from that and take my place in the skate industry as a consumer. But I also want to say, for anybody who did buy boards, thank you so much. And I don't want you to forget the awesome service that Eric gave you. So if you're ever on the website and looking for anything, you know, feel free to pick something up. I'm no longer involved, but Eric is an awesome guy. It was definitely not like a unharmonious split. It was just like this has been a really long time, we're still not where I want it to go, and we keep getting blocked sort of situation. So I'm the kind of person that looks for flow for things, you know, like, is what you're doing working? And in other areas of my life, I have a lot of things that are working really well, and that one was just like, I could just feel that I was blocked and my energy wasn't going where I wanted it to go. So that's what happened with the Canada Skate Shop thing. And getting to energy not going where I want it to go, some of you guys may have also noticed that my Instagram disappeared, and that's because I canceled it. Because I found that for me, Instagram just took a lot more than it gave. And I want you guys to think about that, because I'm a person who had a vested business interest in having an Instagram, and I still personally found that it didn't give me very much. So while I enjoyed sharing skating with you guys and things like that, I found that generally the time that I had to put in to the Instagram account and the amount of times that I wound up, you know, just sitting on the scroll when I had intended to do something else, like, I just spent too much time on it and it wasn't giving back. So yeah, Instagram's gone. I'll miss chatting with a lot of you guys, but at the same time, I have a lot more time now. So that's what happened with the Instagram. It's just gone. And you know what? I'm not really missing it. I might actually make a video about it someday. Anyways, you guys, that's about it. Like, that's all the updates. I may or may not make any videos for the next month or 2 or 3 or 6. I have no idea. I have a lot of ideas about videos, but I'm not sure when I'm going to have the motivation and the time and space to continue to put out videos. I have tons of ideas, but just like the will isn't there. So yeah, ideas, no will. Construction Channel, Vancouver Carpenter, is doing well though. If you guys have ever checked that out, that one is, you know, my family is getting by on that. And in fact, we're doing a little better. We're thriving on that. So I'm truly grateful that I have something like that that is working and that I'm able to look at as an example of like, no, when you put energy into this, it works. So we have that, and that's it. That's all I have to say. I'd love to say I'm gonna be shutting off the camera and going skating, but I'm not. I'm gonna shut off the camera and go home now. But I think I'll be taking my son out skating later today. So huge thank you to everyone over the last 4 years for all the support. It's not the end, it's just sort of like the intermission. So, you know, insert cheesy intermission music, go get your drinks and snacks. We'll be back in a while. Thanks for watching. Till the next one.